Hello fam, how are you doing? I really hope you're all doing fine. Welcome back to our series whereby we learn more about drink poultry farming, more as a business and less as a hobby. So today, as you know, businesses are always bound to expand. So today we're going to talk about just some of the few major points that you should consider when expanding. So our example is from 100 to 500, but you would be expanding from 500 to 1000, 1000 to 10,000. There are very many things that are considered. So, and first of all, what you should know is that when transiting from a certain number, I've said you're going to use 100 to 500. When transiting from 100 to 500, like when transiting to a larger number, there are these small mistakes we make when we have these few birds. Like here, biosecurity is poor. uh Let me say there is poor management of the workers and all that, and these mistakes always seem to be like of less of an effect. But then the more you're doing it, and when you expand, a single mistake can be very fatal. Take an example: when you have 100 birds, usually in a brooder, you save, even though you don't cover the corners. But then scale to, even though I just say 300 birds. When you have 300 birds and those corners are not round, trust me, you're surely going to make losses, because the chances of chicks dying from that corner, from cornered brooders, is higher when you have 300 chicks and lower when you have 100 chicks. That was just to show you of how these small examples become fatal the more you grow. So before growing and enlarging, you should mark you should- sorry you should first make sure that you set everything right. And then, as you know, we are expanding. There is also construction of a poultry house. A poultry house that handles 500 birds is not the same that will handle 100 birds. I'm really sorry, the video today might be long, but I just want to make sure that I cover most of the details. And I was still thinking about the house. A house that handles 100 birds is not the same as the house that handles 500 birds. So when constructing when expanding, you should also consider the house. And the metrics, or I would say the math for constructing this poultry house, it's usually 20 feet by 50 to 75 feet. 20 by 50, and these 20 feet, they are in the width. Why are they always 20 feet? Because larger than 20 feet, there won't be enough aeration. Like, remember, I'm talking about when you're using natural forces. You're not using these houses that have fans and all that. You're not controlling the environment. The environment is controlled by Mother Nature. So these 20 feet are very crucial, because they give space. How would I say? Like, the distance is enough for the ventilation, like the air, to go through and carry all these all these bad gases, and make sure the ventilation is nice. Past 20 feet, it will become ineffective. Mother Nature will become ineffective. So that's for the house. You should make sure you do the matrix very well. And I've told you the matrix are 20 by 75. And not forgetting biosecurity, where where you keep your feed. If you have another house that you can keep in the feed and all that, then you're safe. And then another thing to consider while expanding are these other resources, the drinkers and the feeders. As you all know, we are going from 100 to 500. That means almost everything has to change. The drinkers, usually you could put 15 to 20, but then you could observe and see, you'd see your birds. You'd see, are these 15 drinkers going to be enough for my 500 birds? bring in more than enough drinkers so that you have to maintain uniform growth. Because if there are less feeders or less drinkers, it will be only the energetic ones that will get to eat. You'll have uneven growth. I hope I'm understood. Like, the growth will be uneven. And then that's for the drinkers and for the feeders. Another thing you should also make sure that you observe is the feeds and the capital. Because remember, you're transiting from 100 birds and 500 birds. And what is advisable in order not to cause stress on your pocket? Because remember, we've talked about constructing the poultry house, we've talked about buying drinkers and all that. So that in order not to put strain to your pocket, you could do it in phases. You go from 100 to 250. Like, you do that half. If you're going to 10,000, you first bring the 5,000, and then you bring another 5,000, because this helps you not put strain on the budget. But if you have the capital and the labor and everything is put in place, then you're free to transit from 100 to 500 if you really put everything in motion. Because usually, let me say, if you're coming from 500 layers and you want to go to 2000 layers, you'll find out that, if I'm just giving an example, I haven't sat down to make the mathematics, but if you've been feeding 500 layers on, let me say, 30 kilograms a day, it's just an example, I'm not so sure, and then you're going to 2000 birds, you'll find out that in 2000 birds you may even feed up to 500 kilograms a day. So that space, if you're not ready financially, you should transit slowly. But if you're really ready financially, you can transit very fast. Yeah, I'm sorry this video has been long, but I really had to expound on everything. If you think I've left out a point, you can put it in the comment section. Thank you.